And welcome back to another daily devotion. I am Pastor Roy here at Woodlawn Christian Church in Lake City, Iowa, and this devotion is for Tuesday, August 22nd of 2023. We have made it to the third chapter of the book of First Timothy, and I apologize, yesterday's devotion was a bit on the long side, much longer than I like, three times or approximately, maybe almost four times longer than I like them to be, at least twice as long as I like them to be. So today we're going to try to keep it short, keep it right to the point, Roy. So today we're talking about qualifications of bishops, is what it says in the Revised Standard Version. I'm not sure that's the best translation of the word. The word bishop. I think the word bishop is probably a bit of a stretch. I'm not sure why they chose that word. But at any rate, we'll talk about that in a moment. Let's read the first 7 verses in chapter 3 of the book of First Timothy, shall we? And again, I'm using the Revised Standard Version. I've been using it for most of these studies, so I guess I'll continue to use it. All right. Qualification of bishops. The saying is sure, if anyone aspires to the office of bishop, he desires a noble task. Now a bishop must be above reproach, the husband of one wife, temperate, sensible, dignified, hospitable, and apt teacher, no drunkard, not violent but gentle, not quarrelsome, and no lover of money. He must manage his own household well, keeping his children submissive and respectful in every way. For if a man does not know how to manage his own household, how can he care for God's church? He must not be a recent convert, or he may be puffed up with conceit and fall into the condemnation of the devil. Moreover, he must be well thought of by outsiders, or he may fall into reproach and the snare of the devil. All right. Excuse me. Anyway, we could have gone on to verse 13 today, but again, I wanted to keep this short, so we'll deal with 13, the qualifications for deacons, tomorrow. But bishops, the word there that they're translating here in the Revised Standard Version as bishops is often translated as elders, and that's probably a better translation. Bishop seems a bit of an overreach to me. Bishop we don't typically think of as being an office that's over the top of the individual churches. This is talking about inside the church, not outside the church. So it's not a larger church body. It's the local. It's on the local level, local here. So the word actually means overseer. The Greek word that's translated as bishop here, and we use it a couple of different times. But it's thought that it probably means more likely what we would have in the Disciples of Christ tradition and some other traditions would be the office of elder. Okay, some think it means minister, so it would be the pastor of the church, and that's possible also. That they're talking about the pastor. Again, I think bishop's just a little bit misleading. It's looking at a hierarchy here, and of course, these things we're talking about here. It's part of the reason why some people think it's a much later letter than what Paul could have written, because these kind of stratification wouldn't have been there quite so immediately in the church, and it would have taken some time to develop these different offices. I'm not sure that's a perfectly good argument, to be honest. People tend to like organization, and they're in a Roman world, and the Romans were really good at organization. They had stratification of responsibilities, very much so, in their military and in their government offices. So it wouldn't it be a big reach or a grasp to say that they didn't have some model to follow in their world, to think they weren't just pulling things out of thin air. Let's put it that way. So, at any rate, the overseer, he desires a noble task. Yes, leading the church in whatever capacity we're talking about is a noble task. It's a very important task. And this is why they throw out these qualifications. He should be above reproach. He should be not, you don't want somebody that's corruptible. And we don't want somebody that's corruptible in our church offices or in our public offices. And unfortunately, in the latter, that's not the case very often. But far too many people are corruptible. They're going to take a bribe or a kickback or what have you. But you don't want somebody in the church body that is going to be someone that's corruptible for whatever reason, and towards whatever direction or gain or loss that it might be. They're to be the husband of one wife. Now, some people think that would mean not divorced. Therefore, I would be in trouble, to be honest, because I am divorced from my first wife, and it was my decision to divorce, not hers. She didn't want the divorce, so that would put me in trouble. But that's thought that that's not the best translation or the best way to understand that. It means a faithful husband, a husband that is faithful to his one wife. So that clears the mud up a little bit, but it's still one that I will admit gives me a bit of a whenever I read it, and I feel a little bit of a twinge there. But if we never ever feel twinges when we're reading scripture, we're not paying close enough attention. We're not really delving into it and thinking about and applying it to our own circumstances ever. We're always saying, well, that's that other folk. They're the bad ones. Never us. So, at any rate, should be faithful to his wife. And if it's a woman, faithful to her husband. We talked about the issue with it Timothy has with the women yesterday in that really long devotion. So go listen to that one if you want to talk about women. We'll talk more about that probably. I don't think it's tomorrow's devotion. I think it'll be the one after that. So it'll be Thursday's devotion, I think, is when we're going to be talking again about women. But I digress. Nope, it'll be tomorrow's. I'm wrong, as I look down the thing. Tomorrow we'll talk about the ladies again. They should be of temperate. Not someone that gets angry. Oh boy, I'm in trouble there, because I do confess I have a bad temper. I have done much better with my old age at keeping my temper in check, but it is one of those things we have to be careful of. We don't want someone that's going to blow up, which again, I feel again another tinge there. Sensible. Well, is there such a thing as a sensible person? We should be sensible. We shouldn't be flippant, and we shouldn't be out there just doing crazy things. Though I've seen plenty of pastors that weren't extraordinarily sensible. More of the elders that I've seen have been sensible than some of the pastors. But I digress. Dignified. We want to be dignified. It doesn't mean we have to be a stuffed shirt. I tend to wear blue jeans and t-shirts, but at the same time, I don't run around doing things that are undignified in our culture. That would be something that would be culturally specific, to be honest, because what's dignified in one culture is not necessarily dignified in another, and what's undignified in one culture might be dignified in another culture. In the Jewish culture, adult men did not run. So you didn't, the fact that we have the story of Abraham running. We have that story. The father of the prodigal son running. That's part of what makes those stories so impactful, is we've got an adult Jewish male running. That's not dignified. So dignified. Don't be doing things that are outlandish and making people think you're crazy, I guess. Hospitable. You need to be caring towards folks, and an apt teacher. We have to be a teacher. And I always say I'm more of a teacher than a preacher. I love to teach. I'm not sure if I'm necessarily good at it, but we need to be able to teach folks. No drunkard. And, that doesn't mean you don't have a drink on occasion. That means you don't get drunk and the old what do I want to say, joke or meme in this day and age would be the meme or the stereotype of the Catholic priest. It's always those Catholic priests being a drunk. You used to see that in cartoons and things in the day. You don't want to be a drunkard, because part of the problem is that you are witness, whether you're on duty or off duty. You are witnessing for God. You are one of His disciples, especially in the community. If the community knows your office, whether you're an elder or whether you're just a Christian, you ought to be out being drunk in public. Not violent. That's a good one. Not to be violent. Don't be going around getting in fisticuffs. Bad idea. Not going to help to build the church. But gentle. You want to have gentleness. That's important. I can think of our I can think of one gentleman that we have that is both an elder and just our chairman right now. He fits these qualifications very well. He has a great gentleness to him. He's very good at being sensible and negotiating things and bringing people down to earth. Much more apt at that than I am. Much more of a diplomat. So to say it that way. Not quarrelsome and no lover of money. Money's not supposed to be the most important. Guess what? In this world, you're never going to take any of the money you accumulate in this world with you. None of it's leaving with you. So, not being a lover of money is you're putting your focus on riches of this world and not riches of the next. And even money that you might save up or accumulate, the word I want to say, accumulate in life, that you can leave to your children or grandchildren, that's great. But if you left them without their souls being saved, what did you really leave them? Well, that's not a good thing. He must manage his own household well, keeping his children submissive and respectful in every way. That sounds a little submissive, that word. Sounds a little harsh to us, but again, think of the time that we're in here. We don't want our children being rambunctious, though preachers' kids have that is another stereotype, that the preachers' kids tend to be the wildest kids. And I know the Baptist minister back home, the wildest kid in town, the biggest drug addict and alcoholic in town growing up, he was one of the Baptist minister's kids. So that's a tough one. That doesn't mean that your kids are angels, though. Again, but you do need to be able to communicate with your family. For if a man does not know how to manage his own household, how can he care for God's church? But that is a difficult one, because sometimes it's, as a parent, especially, kids don't listen to you, and sometimes as the pastor, sometimes the kids rebel because they're looked at. They're supposed to be these angels, and that's part of the whole problem there. He must not be a recent convert. That's important, because otherwise you'd be puffed up with conceit. I don't know how you can be the pastor and be a recent convert. I don't know how you can be an elder in the church and be a recent convert. You need to understand a little bit about what's going on. You certainly, this is one of the reasons why I think bishop's a bad translation. You certainly can't be the bishop in charge of a lot of churches and be a recent convert. Though in ancient times, there were times when people bought, in the Catholic Church, before the schism and the break off of the Protestant movement, the people were buying these offices in the church, basically, because they were prestigious offices, and there was chances to be corrupt and to make money. But again, I digress. Moreover, he must be well thought of by outsiders. You need to have a good reputation. You need not to be thought of as, this scandalous, this drunkard, just all of these things, this philanthropine, all of these things. You don't want to have that reputation. And even if you have been that in the past, you need to have the reputation of having repented of that behavior and that you've truly come to the Lord. That needs to be, your witness needs to be, that's an important part. I think that's the whole thing about these qualifications of this overseer. Again, that's the word that we want. It's about the appearance, so that you can present the best face for God, and about are you truly in it for the right reasons also, not for the money. All right, with that, I see I've gone way longer than I thought I would, twice as long. And I apologize for that. This is another one that's past my normal time. Wow, Timothy's just must be something about it. At any rate, if you enjoy these devotions, if they say something to you, if they help you, they give you any kind of inspiration, what have you, please like and subscribe. We'd love to see you back. And please make a comment if you'd like, and please share. Take care. Have a blessed day. And please, please, please be a blessing to someone today. Tell them about Jesus. Bye-bye.